Hello, and welcome to another series of Caldwell Chats. My name is Eob. I am the Director of Marketing and Creative Services here at Caldwell IP Law. And today I have two special guests. Again, we have Julie Tolek, our very own trademark attorney, and we have Susanna Hawkins from Waeve. And I'm really interested in Susanna's story and the story of Waeve. And I'll have Susanna talk to you a little bit about the brand and how they've built the brand. But basically, Caldwell Chats is a series aimed to inspire entrepreneurs, inspire the innovative community, and to talk about intellectual property at the same time. So we'll do a little bit of both, and about branding, of course. So Susanna, I guess let's start off. What is Waeve? What is Waeve, the company, and who started it? How did you come up with the idea to start this company?
Yeah. So Waeve, as it is now, is a direct-to-consumer Black women-owned wig brand. So we sell trend-forward and high-quality wigs, and really want to make the wig buying experience amazing for everyone involved. And the idea was really born out of my co-founder's experience, Mary, who's now the CEO of the company, and really her experience with hair, kind of in undergrad and her hair journey. So she spent a lot of time with her natural hair, trying to figure out what to do with it growing up, and then kind of in some ended up finding wigs like early on in undergrad. We all went to Williams College together. I'll talk about my other co-founder. She comes in later in the story as well. But we all went to Williams College together, which is in kind of like a remote place in Western Mass. So not a lot of, like Black hair salons, places to kind of get your hair done. So wigs really offered that super easy, fun solution for her. And she had kind of worked with her mom to like figure out how to get wigs when she was in college, and then she, for her 21st birthday, really wanted to find a wig on her own. So she naturally went online, as we all did. And so she was searching for a wig online. It was just such a difficult experience sifting through all of these sites. The customer service was all over the place. It just wasn't a great experience. And none of the wig brands, seemed to be owned by people that looked like us. And so she just had like a very terrible experience. And that's when she called, one of our best friends, Tiso, who's also a co-founder as well. And so then they got to talking and said, like, we should create a brand around this. We should just do it. No one else is trying to do this. We should do it. This was back in 2018. And then that's when they kind of started having this idea for, okay, can we create, a new synthetic product that's super heat, like something alternative to human hair, something kind of biology related. And that's when they got in touch with me, because I was a computer science, but I also did biology research as well. And so that's how I kind of ended up in the loop and kind of learning about this problem that they were having. And that's really how Waeve was born. And we entered into our Williams College business competition in 2018, and we won that. And so we had some money to kind of try and make this happen. And then we all kind of graduated college, went to our various places. So I am a PhD student at MIT now. Mary went to a company called PillPack, where she was a software engineer. And then we kind of were doing our separate thing, and then the pandemic happened. We were like, let's really try to make this work. And so that's when we went to try to raise money, and we did last summer, which was really exciting. And that's how Waeve today was born. We launched in June.
This is awesome to hear, and it's really interesting that you were able to bring in your scientific background in wig production.
Yeah.
I find that very, very awesome because we don't see a lot of that, and so it's really great to see that. And fun story. I recently found out that you and Julie met through MIT. because we do a lot of work with MIT, and so it's just interesting how our paths have crossed.
Yeah.
Yeah, through MIT during the pandemic, all online, sitting in living rooms or makeshift offices or, whatever surface was available during,
Yeah.
I think it was like early pandemic too, I believe, like in the spring, I think, of 2020, we filed everything. But so if I may, I have a kind of a follow-up question about, how you came up with the name and kind of the double entendre or pun of the spelling, if you will. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah. So yeah, in truth, the name really came out of, a brainstorming session that happened in Sawyer Library at Williams College in 2018. We were just trying to think of names, writing on the whiteboard, trying to figure out, hair related names, what kind of sticks. And so obviously Weave came up in our thinking about this. And then, we were just kind of playing around with the letters, honestly. And we said, how about, just switching the E and the A and making it Waeve. And then we just had, waves, hair waves, ride the wave. There was just so many fun things that came out of it. And obviously, Julie, all of those things as well, because we trademarked them. But so yeah, we thought it was just a really great name to kind of go with, and so many just kind of fun spin-offs from it as well. Just very kind of recognizable.
Yeah, definitely. Absolutely.
And a follow-up question to you, Julie. So how does that work? As I think, Susanna, you were talking a little bit about like the trademarking process of like names and trying to find a name for your brand and speaking to a trademark attorney about that. Julie, what do you normally see with clients when they come to you first off and say, hey, I have an idea for a bunch of names? What do you do?
So, well, the first thing I think about is kind of what the parent name is, if you will. So, what is the main brand name or the main company name, and what are the other names that they're going to consider using? Like, are they taglines? Are they slogans? Are they different product names? And we kind of, I think about it like as a hierarchy of priority, and you always want the main brand name or main company name to definitely be the highest priority, because that's going to give you the most protection over everything, all your product lines. And, it's interesting because I love, and the USPTO also loves puns or clever, they call them fanciful names or suggestive names even. So fanciful means it's a completely made up name. And then suggestive is kind of those puns and double entendres that you find in names. And to me, it's always really exciting to see when clients come up with the name that has something interesting like that. And then you see it trickle down into the slogan and into all those things that Susanna was just talking about, and how to kind of develop the different trademarks from there, and to be able to have the branding consistent throughout all of the trademarks and all of the different products, and have it all tie back to the actual brand name or business name.
And Susanna, for you and for your company, what made you guys think of thinking of trademarks so early on in your company?
Yeah, no, it's a really great question. I mean, for us, it was definitely very early days that we did this. So it was after we had incorporated the company, but before we had raised any money. And so, we really had this vision of trying to shake up the wig industry, not just with, new products, ideas, innovations, but, our thinking was that we want to have a really innovative brand, and we wanted to kind of, protect that brand, because we thought that we were onto something really cool. And it was before, other people had really validated it yet. And so that's really why we decided to go down the trademark route, is because, we loved our name. We loved all the slogans that we had kind of come up with, and we wanted to kind of, wanted to make Waeve feel official, and make the brand feel official, and be official with a trademark as well.
And Susanna, did you find at all that the trademark helped make you more appealing to investors? And did it come up in pitches? Did they ask you about your IP? How do you feel that it benefited or helped you through this process of getting to where you are with the company?
Yeah, no, I think that's a great question. I don't think it necessarily came up with investors because we were still kind of at the very like early stages of the idea. I could definitely see it coming up in later investing rounds. But yeah, I think at least for us, and I think just having that protection and just making everything feel very official, and especially with some of the slogans that we were using, like "Ride the Wave" or "Feel Good Hair," I think were two of the ones that we trademarked. It just really helped us in feeling very secure that we are a brand. These are our slogans. We're protected in that way. So I think that's kind of what added for us that value of a trademark. Um, and
And it
yeah,
sounds like it kind of helps your body, like you start to embody the brand.
yeah,
When
exactly.
you know it's official and protected, it's like, the mindset kind of, your mindset becomes more official too, I think, in a way.
Yeah, exactly. And also I think it can be kind of scary as a brand knowing what, you can and can't use in terms of phrases, because there are so many people who have, trademarked phrases, have all of these protections over certain over phrases. So I think, having our own set, made us really feel good. We can just put "Ride the Wave," "Feel Good Hair," all of that stuff out there, and it's ours.
Yep.
Yeah, and I wanted to also ask you, Susanna, a little bit about what some of your obstacles were as women of color in the startup space, because there are obstacles for anyone that's in the startup space. It's inevitable, but particularly for women of color, and I wanted to get your 2 cents on that.
Yeah, so I think definitely as we were going to raise money, I think the kind of the biggest obstacle was explaining that, this is a problem. I think, a lot of the investors that we talked to didn't know a lot about black hair or about wigs or what they were, why people wore them. So, when you go into a pitch and you're trying to present the problem, we really had to kind of set it up in a way that anyone could understand why it was a problem for a lot of people. So that was definitely the first obstacle, kind of in going out to raise money. But I think the kind of the more subtle one was knowing that we should trust our instincts on things. I think we talk to a lot of people who give really great advice, and often they don't look like us, and so you think that, okay, maybe I don't quite know what I'm doing, which was true for sure, but I think we do have really great instincts about the space. We have a lot of knowledge about the wig industry, and I think a lot of kind of expert knowledge at this point about it. So we're still really trying to figure out how to trust our own instincts, especially kind of being, not the face that we see all the time in the space, and especially not like leaders, kind of in the startup world. So we're still trying to figure out how to bridge that gap, but I would say that's definitely kind of one of the bigger obstacles.
Mm. And I love how I was reading. I did some research and looked at the website, and I love the ethos and kind of the brand and the messaging that comes out as well. The messaging that this isn't about not honoring our natural hair, but it's actually a way of having fun and being
Mm-hmm.
safe. And can you speak a little bit more about that, the messaging?
Yeah, so I think that was kind of really born out of, Mary, the CEO's experience with wigs, and kind of using wigs as a tool to kind of switch up her look, on a daily basis. So kind of getting a collection of wigs and being able to be, a different person every day if she wants to. And so just having a lot of fun with it. And So the collection that we have right now is actually 6 wigs, and it's a days of the week. And so we have Monday through Saturday, but you'll notice that Sunday isn't actually there. And Sunday is kind of left as a way to kind of, wear your hair however you want to, like natural and other styles. So that's kind of the concept of the first drop, and really speaks to, wanting to switch up your look, and not just, not honoring kind of your natural hair.
Beautiful. Like it's a beautiful mixture of messaging, but also the brand and brand identity. It's
Yeah.
really great. And question to you about how did you become an entrepreneur? Like, did you always feel it within you, or did you learn from a family member? Were you, like, who were your inspirations?
Yeah, I definitely would say I was not always thinking that I was going to be an entrepreneur, or really even knowing what an entrepreneur was. I think, I had always considered myself as a scientist, from high school and college, when I really got more into it. And my dad is a professor and a scientist, so I think that kind of was a big influence in what I wanted to do. But I think I always had a sense that I wanted to be working on the most interesting ideas in any field that I was in. So definitely, in biology, I was always most interested in kind of, what was kind of the most exciting ideas in kind of human health and disease to be working on at the moment. And when Mary and Tiso came to me about this problem, it was just such an exciting and interesting idea, and such a huge problem. And I think I just knew that I couldn't pass up the opportunity to kind of work with them on this huge idea that I just knew was going to be so big. And so it definitely wasn't born out of, an inspiration to be an entrepreneur per se, but I think just not being able to pass up on this specific opportunity for sure.
Hmm.
So you're a natural and you didn't know it until you started.
I guess so. Yeah. I think for all three of us, I think none of us, Mary, I think, and Tiso as well, the two other co-founders, wanted to be lawyers all throughout undergrad. So yeah, none of us were really kind of thinking that we were going to go into a startup.
Well, it sounds like there was a need, and innovation could spur, and I think all of you saw that opportunity, and I think it begged you to be entrepreneurs
Yeah.
to solve the dilemma. That is very prevalent. And also, how I also took a look at the social media, your social media, and it's great. And so I was wondering, how has social media impacted your business? Like, do you think social media is an important tool in starting a business?
Yeah, I mean, social media is a huge part of what we do. Before Waeve was really anything, we had an Instagram where we were just posting branded content, hair related content. And so this is really a tribute to one of my co-founders, Tiso, who is kind of a social media guru at this point. And so she's always been managing our Instagram page. And it really has morphed into, creating a sense of community. So at this point, I think our Instagram page, we feel like we're friends with all of our followers, because we've interacted with them so much in the comments, in kind of virtual kind of hair related Zoom chats that we've had with Instagram followers. So social media has been a huge part of creating a community around the brand, and yeah, making everyone who's following the brand feel like Waeve is another friend, and also another way to connect with many other Black women that they might not be able to connect with otherwise. And so that's really what we use social media for, as a way to kind of bring Black women together and discuss and engage in hair content. And that, wouldn't be possible, especially with the pandemic, without social media. But I think for any business, and I think especially in the e-commerce direct consumer space, social media is just such a huge and important tool to kind of, get people to feel the real personality of the brand and everyone who works at the company, because I think people are realizing how important it is to kind of know who the people working at the company are as well.
And
Those are
Julie,
some. Oh yeah.
I'm gonna ask you a question as well.
No. It's like I love everything that you're saying, Susanna, because oftentimes we don't think of companies as having personalities, right? And it is really the people that are behind the company whose personalities show through. And whether it's a small company and you have that direct connection easily, or it's a large company, but maybe you're working with, a couple people from that large company, the brand that you end up associating is born from whatever relationship and interactions you have with whoever that human being is on the other side of that brand. And I think sometimes people forget that. And a lot of branding is essentially the relationship and what kind of relationship that is. I mean, it's this intangible connection that people make. And so it's always fascinated me. And so I love that you recognize this too as an entrepreneur, that it is that psychology and connection and the humanizing of the brand that makes people buy in. And I don't say buy in like a fake way, but that connection is why people stick with brands, why they give brands their money and their trust. And it's huge. It's, the most important part of, if you look at marketing and branding and trademarking as this big picture, the most important part is that connection and that relationship, because if they don't like you, they're not going to do business with you. And that comes from the interaction.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And for us, we really love to, show all of our employees, we have 3 full-time employees now and 3 co-founders. So we love to have, all 6 of us on the Instagram to really, show people who Waeve is, who's behind the brand and kind of working on the day-to-day. I think that's so important for people to actually get to know, what makes us tick. And I think, I think it really does help people buy in for sure.
Definitely.
And Susanna, I just want to congratulate you on the success of the company, your funding, and also with all that, the question is, what are some of the mistakes that you guys may have done despite the success? Because there's always mistakes and there's always learning periods and things that we've learned from especially when starting a company. And so I was just wondering a little bit about that.
Yeah, I think kind of on the from a personal perspective, I think definitely kind of what I talked about as one of the greater obstacles, kind of trusting instincts. I think that has also kind of been one of our mistakes as well. I think we, on top of being, all women of color, we're also all very young. So when we started this company, we were all under 25. And so again, I think we just didn't really trust that we knew what we were doing. So we were just kind of taking a lot of advice and then acting on a lot of advice that kind of sometimes went against our instincts. And I think that sometimes that created some mistakes, because I think, I think our instincts were actually right in a lot of cases. So I think that was definitely, in a vague way, one of the mistakes that we made was not kind of trusting our instincts, definitely in the early stages. But I think also, I guess this isn't necessarily a mistake, but I think we didn't realize just how challenging the kind of people aspect of everything would be. So I think, we kind of just assumed that, people would really buy into the brand automatically. And so I think, really kind of selling the brand is not something that we were really ever, or that we had, that we, I'm trying to think of the best way to say this. Yeah, I think that we weren't kind of selling the brand from kind of like a marketing perspective. To the best of our ability, and I think that was kind of a mistake in the early stages. And so I would say, again, 2 kind of vague examples, but yeah, I think those 2.
I think they're great examples. And I guess the last question is, I guess, what are some advice or tips that you would give to since you did mention that you guys were young when you started this, um, what's some advice that you'd give a recent college grad, especially perhaps like women of color that are looking to pursue a company and to start something up?
Yeah, I think definitely for people coming right out of college, I think definitely a lot of people coming out of undergrad are kind of thinking, okay, what job do I want? Not necessarily what problem do I want to try to solve. And so I think kind of shifting your mindset coming out of undergrad of, okay, what problems do I want to try to solve in the world? And then, if you want to go work for a company, or whether you want to, go to school, or whether you want to go start your own thing, I think that can really help in deciding, what avenues you want to pursue. Because I think it's really easy to just kind of get swept up at the end of undergrad in, I want this job because this is going to be the best job, and I want that job because it's going to be the most fun. But I think it can be really fruitful to think about, your career trajectory in terms of problems that you want to solve in the world, especially, when there are so many problems at the moment.
Mm, great advice. And Julie, I guess for you as well, like, what are some advice for people that are starting out with trying to build a brand in terms of trademark and also their branding process? What have you seen, and what would you suggest or give? What are some advice or tips that you give?
I would say as soon as you start brainstorming, even maybe before you start brainstorming a name, talk to a professional, especially from a trademarking perspective, about, what are the requirements for trademarking, because what often happens is that people come up with names that are really good for marketing because they're very descriptive, and marketing really likes descriptive names. But from the USPTO's perspective, descriptive names often get rejected. So there is a balance between, and that's why a name like Waeve that has a play on words or letters or spelling, is so good, because you get a little bit of that descriptive, but it's not exactly descriptive. It falls into like suggestive even. So, I think there's no wrong time to start thinking about naming and trademarking, but the best time is before you start, because then you have all the options available. If you have to change names, if you think of something else, the worst thing is for someone or business to have put money and time and effort, and not just financial equity, but the sweat equity and the emotional equity that you invest in putting a brand name on something, only to find out that either it's not registerable because it's too descriptive, or someone else is already using it, or for XYZ other reason. Those are the most two common reasons that trademarks get rejected. But the sooner you can start keeping those things in mind, the better.
Well, I think time's up for us. So thank you two for such a beautiful conversation. And Susanna, we will put what's the Instagram handle for Waeve?
Yeah, so it's at the WAEVE, at the Waeve is our Instagram.
And is
And
that also your website? Yeah. Where can people shamelessly plug yourself? Where can people get your wigs?
yeah, so we're at the Waeve on every social media platform. So Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok. And then the Waeve, again, THEWAEVE.com is our website.
Awesome. I have a spot open for Friday for some here playing, so I'll be sure to check it out. And thank you for everyone listening in. And until the next time, bye guys.
Bye. Thank you for having me.
Congratulations again.